Welcome everyone to PM School Star Session today, where we have experts from the industry join in and share their wisdom with aspiring and early stage product managers. And Today we have Shailesh, who's joined us to talk about share his wisdom about like early stage product journeys for product managers and having the right mindset, right? Like what it is to obviously what is required to succeed in this particular role, because there are a lot of frameworks, there are a lot of best practices, but there's no very clear definition of what a product manager should do and what the role entails. And this role has evolved over the years. I've been obviously with PM School. We started PM School close to 4.5 years ago. And I've been a product manager for the past decade, so I know how the role has evolved. The whole reason of why we started PM School was me, Ankit, and Nikunj, who are the co-founders of PM School, didn't have a very structured way of learning to be effective product managers. We learned it by burning a lot of fingers, a lot of late nights, a lot of inadvertently shipped or shipping buggy products out there, learning from that experience, and then getting better. And I think this obviously an angle of having the right mindset there, which led us to be where we are today. Just a few mentions about PM School. We are Asia's largest product community today. We have an 8-week boot camp. We help aspiring product managers back their dream jobs, dream product management jobs, and we help them do that with a very structured and intense 8-week program, which we call the PM School Live Cohort Program. And if you're interested, Priyal will be sharing all the details over email. If you want to just have a chat with us, please drop us a note and we'd love to have a conversation with you. With that, I hand it over to Shailesh today. Shailesh, thanks for taking the time out and welcome to PM School Star Session. Looking forward to this today.
Thanks, Kushal, and thanks PM School for having me. Hey, everyone. Thanks for taking out the time. This is a topic that is actually quite close to my heart, because I feel the skills for being a good PM, there's lots of material out there for it, and there's a lot of structured stuff around it. But I feel the mental aspect of how to kind of think, how to have the right mindset, this is probably not talked about much. So I just wanted to share my thoughts, my learnings. Happy to hear like examples from y'all as well, and just go from there. The reason why I feel this is very important is because whenever you join in as a new PM, I saw this thing sometime a few days ago, which is everything is the PM's problem to solve, right? And that can be very overwhelming for an early PM when you're just, things are flying at you from everywhere. And there are some aspects of this which are true. Like there is something called ownership, and you need to kind of have that mindset with you. But there's also the side effect of taking too much pressure and all of that, thinking everything that the light touches is your problem to fix. So I want to talk about 4 specific things. One is self-awareness, like how well can we understand ourselves? Because to me, that is kind of the first step to becoming a PM, to becoming like a successful PM. If we are not self-aware, then a lot of things can go wrong. The second thing is ownership. And we'll talk like lots about this. You must have heard about how to take ownership and everything that comes with it around the PM role. Internal stress, things that we do to ourselves, and then of course external stress, which is the world that is putting stress on us. So I want to talk about these 4 things and share certain examples about how one can go about handling the stress, and then what is like self-awareness and ownership as well. So let's talk about self-awareness, which is basically how well do we know each other. And there's various things on this, right? And it's not that you need to be on one side of the spectrum versus the other. All of us have a different range when it comes to these types of attributes. So, for example, how patient are you as a person, right? This is something that all of us have to various degrees. How is our communication? How friendly are we? What is the level of assertiveness or authority that we can show? How clear are we in our thinking? What is our general attitude in life? Like when you wake up in the morning or when you are stuck in traffic, like what is the attitude that we have in those types of situations? How much resolve do we have? Meaning, whenever we are down, are we actually down and out, or are we strong enough to kind of bounce back, right? So I think of a lot of these things like being a PM with sport. And that is because sport also kind of exposes you to a lot of different situations day in and day out, the different pressures. And I feel a PM goes through a lot of those pressures themselves. So the first thing is to just understand what are the attributes that are important, and there can be this list can be much longer, and then figuring out, okay, where am I in these attributes? Like how patient am I on a daily basis? How often do I get annoyed, or how quickly do I get annoyed with something? Am I friendly, overly friendly, too nice, too aggressive? Like all of us will fall on some scale over here, right? So just knowing yourself better is like a good starting point, because then it'll tell you how you need to respond, or what's your default response to anything, and how can you change your response to various situations. Because I feel a PM has to adapt to their situation, to the stage of the company, to the stakeholder that they're talking to, and each of these personal attributes will play a role over there. In terms of ownership, all of you became a PM because you wanted more money, correct? I mean, that could be true, but I'm just kidding. All of us became product managers maybe because somewhere we felt, oh, we are going to get rich, or I'm going to become like so powerful, I can like instruct people around and get things done and all of that stuff. Um, but all those in some ways are like superficial reasons, I would say, because being a product manager, getting into the field, it takes a lot of grunt work in order to like succeed to in order to keep improving. But all of us have a reason for becoming a PM, and uh, ownership comes with this role, right? A whole lot of ownership comes with that role. For example, if I compare it to my previous role, I come from a QA background. My area of ownership was, okay, test this particular feature or test this particular system, make sure it works, it doesn't break, and if it breaks, like talk to XYZ people, get it done. And that was basically the area of ownership that I had. But as a PM, it just expanded out, right? I had to look at the entire product or a part of it, but then think about from the customer's angle, think about, okay, what's engineering up to design? How are my kind of seniors looking at it? There's so many different things that I have to now expand into. Um, Ownership, yes, it does come with this thing that, oh, you have to actually own the whole thing. There's no escaping from it. Um, but there's also important things to remember, which is while you're owning everything, you're not actually working on each of those aspects. So you need to know or need to figure out when is intervention required, and you need to intervene as necessary. You will have to um, have these uh, conversations which are going to be hard. Other people may feel that you're stepping on their toes, and sometimes you do have to, because you're not seeing the right results. You're not seeing the right throughput, and you need to like go and figure out what that problem is. Maybe sometimes fix it yourself. Um, you have to have this um, general nature or attitude that you are going to help without any reason, right? If someone is stuck, if like an engineering team is stuck and they're not able to like figure something out, you need to go in and brainstorm it with them. If your sales team is stuck with a deal, you need to go in and figure out how you can help. So you need to help without reason. That also means you're taking ownership of that situation, and you're not thinking, oh, that is sales problem or this is a marketing problem. Um, and as you keep doing that, then you will start thinking about the big picture. Now, this also has some nuances, right? The big picture could be in terms of your own feature, your own product, and how this, whatever you do, is going to help you succeed, make this feature successful or the product successful. The other aspect could be to think about like the overall team, the morale of the team, and say that, okay, what can I do in order to improve the morale of the entire team or the organization as you become more senior? And the third is, how do I think about like a longer term piece, right? So for yourself, while you're doing all of these pieces, how does it kind of create a story for you? How do you gather good karma which will help you for your next role? And I always ask people, and I do this myself even right now, is to think about, okay, the problems that I have right now or the opportunities that I have right now, how are these going to help me in whatever I want to do next? Like if you're an APM, whatever you're doing right now, how does it help you become a PM, then a senior PM, and then whatever that growth path looks like? Because every problem will, if you look at it in a different lens, you'll say that, oh, this problem is too complex, but when I become a senior PM, I'm going to hit this problem every week or every month. So why don't I figure out a way around this, right? So as you keep accumulating those types of points for yourself, you will feel better. You will feel confident of taking on that next big role. And so taking that ownership piece, while it can create a lot of internal pressure, I think having like those right mindset where you're thinking about your attributes and just walking through, okay, what does this situation really mean for you, can help you take that ownership in a much more positive way. Now, when we think about internal stress, what could be the causes? Maybe you're going through like a confidence crisis. Maybe there's some personal issues, maybe something else. And it can happen to anybody at any time, but it's going to create stress. It's going to impact your day to day. It's going to impact the way you communicate with people. So just being self-aware of, okay, what is the cause for this internal stress is like the first step to kind of handle it. There could be some type of misalignment, either with the work that you're doing, but the real work that you want to do, or the work that you're doing with the company that you're at. There could be this misalignment, which is again an internal misalignment that you just don't feel right about it, which will cause stress. So, and if that stress continues on for like a few weeks, few months, then that kind of shows up in different ways. And sometimes the internal stress is just your own doing, which is you screwed up, you made a mistake, you did not pay enough attention, you did not organize yourself properly. And this is like a very important thing to acknowledge, right? Like, is this mistake or is this stress building up because of my own doing? Then let me do something about it. So, the next important thing is, how do you actually handle it? There are multiple ways to handle internal stress. One is writing things out, journaling. Um, and I have found it very useful, so I'm sharing it because uh, while I want to be more consistent with my journaling, I'm not. But whenever I do it, it just gives me a very good reset. I know, okay, what happened last week? What am I going to do today? And this just helps me reset and recuperate. Planning, I'm a big believer of planning the entire week. Planning the day. I've actually written a few LinkedIn posts if you guys want to check that out. And planning and taking action. I think these are the two big things, at least for me, that help me handle my internal stress. That could mean planning my day in a calendar. Um, and of course, a lot of things will be thrown at you, and your calendar is going to go for a toss. But still, knowing which two or three things are super important for the day and taking action on those automatically just reduces my stress. In fact, it just happened like 2 days ago where I was feeling anxious about a certain thing. And but I was not taking action. I was just feeling anxious about it. Um, and then what I did is I thought, okay, let me just sit down and write what I need to do. I just opened up something, wrote it down. I had the solution in front of me, and then that stress went away or that anxiousness went away. So simple things like those will definitely help you. It's been helping me. Talking always helps. Talking to a friend or someone who's been through this, talking to someone who's 2 or 3 years ahead of you in this journey, because they've been through it, they've seen it, will definitely help you. And this you can do maybe on a monthly basis. Just try to kind of vent out things that are going on. Um, a huge fan of exercise. Again, this may seem like very simple advice, but the moment you start exercising, you have a routine around it. The way you deal with stress will change. You will become extremely powerful and not feel stress in an otherwise stressful situation. Meditation at the same time, in a similar way, can put you at ease, make it a habit. I used to practice meditation like very consistently. I don't do much now, but I'm very focused on my exercise, so that is almost like meditative for me. Um, Being your own therapist, I mean, of course, take help from a professional when you need one. But my point of saying all this is we can ourselves, a lot of cases, investigate what's going on, take some of these actions or steps, and just be our own therapist, where we are like vocalizing what's going on, and then trying to figure out, okay, how do I handle this situation better? So just being your own therapist in as many situations as possible is another great way of you building more confidence that, hey, whenever there is a problem, I can actually think about it properly, and take action and then solve it. So handling internal stress has like many different ways, and I would highly recommend trying some of these. And again, like going back to being organized, if all of your stuff is in different places, like for example, customer feedback, if it's all scattered in multiple spreadsheets, then you're going to have a hard time gathering all of that. That's going to create stress because your VP of product is going to ask you for your area of product, the roadmap for it, and you're going to be like, oh, how do I kind of figure out all of this? So you need to figure out ways to kind of keep yourself organized so that you can bring all of this information at the drop of a hat. Let's talk about stuff that we will always encounter, which is external stress. And this can be caused due to various things, right? Um, Suddenly, one day, all your senior developers are going to be moved on to another team for a so-called more important product, right? How are you going to react to that particular situation? And this can happen in any company. It can happen in like a mid-sized startup. It will definitely happen in a large company. Um, when the founder is there or when a senior person is there, the way other teams react is going to be different, right? So, and that is going to make you wonder, oh, why are people behaving differently? And you'll see that authority has like a big role to play over here, but that may also cause you some stress in certain situations. Um, Next, you'll be asked to build things by everyone, right? Your next customer, your previous customer, your sales team, your CEO, your head of product. Everyone's going to come and tell you that, hey, this is what we should build, this is what we should build. That's going to create a lot of external induced stress because you don't know, like, okay, how do I now go about doing this? And the way to kind of deal with all of this, one of course is you understand, okay, what's exactly happening here. Maybe there are a lot of expectations from you, lots of high expectations. You're seen as this PM who's going to come and solve everything, but you need to, once you've had the lay of the land, you need to start pushing back and help people understand politely that, okay, this is what I've identified as, say, the most important things to be done. So I would like to push back on these other 10 things that you're asking. A lot of times, leaders tend to overestimate, underestimate how much can get done, right? And that's like a typical habit. Oh, why can't we do all of this in 1 quarter? So that's when you have to come in and talk about prioritization, show them that, okay, why is it that we've taken these things in this order and not in a different order. Depending on the company, how much autonomy you have versus how much top down it is, that's going to have its own stressors, right? If it's extremely top down, then you're just following orders. You're just being asked to do something and you're doing it. If there's too much autonomy, then you don't know whether you're going in the right direction. Like there's not much feedback happening either, right? So that can also create like this external stress. There might be a lot of blame going on. And in which case you need to know, okay, how do I present these facts? How do I accept mistakes, but also present the facts in a way that it doesn't really hurt you. But of course, when you have made mistakes, also need to accept it. And all of these things are ways to kind of deal with that external stressor, um, and give you the tools that, okay, this is how I can kind of deal with the situation. When it comes to excuses, I mean, I am of the belief that we should try and not give like excuses. Whatever the situation, there could have been a way to handle it. And once you develop that kind of mentality, I feel it gives you a lot of confidence and power going forward. So, like, be with this mindset that, okay, I'm not going to give excuses, do the best I can. But then, if the situation is around expectations or estimation or top down or like a lot of blame happening, then this is the way I'm going to approach it. Like, I'm going to push back, I'm going to figure out how to prioritize this, I'm going to show kind of how things are in reality and help the CX, the the senior person understand. Then I'm going to look at facts, right? Of course, when there's too much of cultural misalignment and that is going to create a lot of negative pressure on you, you need to take your call, you need to make your own decision. But I'm just talking about other situations where um, things are generally smooth, but then there's these product launches that are getting delayed, and a lot of pressure that all of the teams are facing. That's then how do you handle those types of situations is what I want to talk about. So yeah, just to recap then, self-awareness, I think it starts with that, just understanding your own attributes, how to kind of understand yourself and see that, okay, what are the attributes that I need to kind of improve upon or decrease. Ownership, yes, as a PM, you will be given a lot of ownership. That means that role is a lot of responsibility. But then how do you show ownership in everything that you do every day will give you a lot of karma points for whatever you want to do next. Internal stress, the causes of it, how to handle it. External stress, again, multiple causes, how to think about it. I feel these are the ways in which you can develop this mindset and uh, just deal with all of the things that will be thrown at you as a PM. So, yes, my message is like keep improving your mindset, use some of these tools. If you have any questions or if you want to have a chat, I'm available on this email ID. Would love to understand or maybe take some questions, take some examples of situations that you have been in or you think you will be in, that I can help answer or help clarify. Thank you.
Thank you, Shailesh. Guys, feel free to ask questions if you have any.
That's quite insightful. A lot I could relate, Sailesh. Thanks for that.
Sure.
Uh, Folks, we have, please keep dropping in your questions. I think you can either drop in your questions or unmute yourself to direct them to us directly or like direct them to us. So we do have some time which we can spend to discuss any specific questions you have. Situational questions if you are already on the path of or already on the product, working as a product manager somewhere you're already on the journey then technically. Yeah, we would love to like spend some time to share our own experience and wisdom on that.
I see one. I guess I can start taking
Yeah,
this.
please go ahead.
What's
Yeah.
the difference between a PM and a great PM? Um, yeah, I wouldn't kind of make that differentiation. I would just say like what makes for a great PM is someone who, one, understands their market very well, and even if they don't have the expertise today, they are someone who will go in deep dive and figure out what really is happening in their market. So, for example, if you're building a product for salespeople, you want to just understand deeply what salespeople care about. That to me is like the first indication of a very good PM. Second, depending on the company, depending on the domain, how well versed are they with um, the kind of the engineering or the technical side of things. Again, some roles expect you to be a extremely technical person to be the PM. Some roles don't need you to be. So just having that level of expertise, which is required to kind of understand the product and understand the engineering behind it. Um, Third, I would say is being able to articulate very clearly um, what is like the value proposition, and this is a term that you would have heard a lot, so that you can translate that into proper messaging from a marketing and sales perspective. Now, traditionally, that role is called a product marketing role, but I think a very good PM is someone who can articulate that very, very well. And help the product marketing and marketing teams push that messaging out because they understand the market extremely well, they understand the product benefits, and hence they're able to translate that into sales and marketing messaging. So I feel if there is a PM who's covering all of these three pieces really, really well and deeply, then they would qualify as a great PM. Difference between product manager and product owner. Again, different companies have different definitions. I just think of it in terms of the breadth of it and the depth. So I think that the product owners are probably like deeper in whatever they're doing. They may be the owner of a particular feature or much deeper in talking to engineering and design. A product manager role is a broader role, and again, some companies just have PMs, some companies have both these roles. It's very, very situational. I think it's important to not get into the nitty-gritty of it in that sense, but just think of both of them as similar. Like you're going to build something or get something built, which is important for your company to make a sale, or like just think of it that way. So you're just going to play a role of a person who is given that responsibility, right? So not super important to dive into the actual differences, but the general scope of the role is what is important. Yeah. I think we have a question from LinkedIn. You said that we have to interfere to help, but to what extent? Good one. It's very, very contextual. Um, I think you have to first build some amount of trust with whoever you're working with, and you have to spend some time in the system, and then you will realize what the problem areas are, and then slowly but surely uh, start interfering in the way that you are going to help this team, right? Or if that team is not improving, and that's actually reducing the impact you can have, or it's reducing the quality of the product that you're producing, then you have to escalate, you have to figure out how to solve that particular problem. But it starts with like building some good relationships, and then understanding when to interfere, how to interfere, to what extent. It's nuanced. I can't give you a fixed answer there, because it's very, very contextual. And the main thing is to think what is going to be the outcome of it. Why am I doing it? Is it for like making a certain outcome better? How are people going to react? And some people will not react in the right way. So you have to like handle all of the situations as well. What factors and difficulties a PM should be prepared for if in case there is need to change the roadmap and pivot to another strategy? Yeah. Um, I think the first and foremost could be just internal friction or internal inertia to change, right? And this can happen at any level. But if as a PM you are identifying or you're starting to see a pattern that, hey, our strategy is not working or our features are not being adopted, then you need to kind of have a thesis for it, have the data for it, present it to the right folks, and see how you can influence change. And the difficulties will typically be, oh, we are working on this re-architecture. It's going to take a lot of time, so we can't do anything before that. So you need to keep pressing the right buttons with the right people to present your case and really again put on this hat that, okay, what is right for the company, where are we going wrong, and then present that data and points to your leaders. How important is it to have a LinkedIn presence or through blogs as a PM? If yes, what should be the content like? um, I guess it depends on what you're looking to achieve. If you want your hiring managers to see your content and say that, hey, this guy or girl is extremely relevant, is putting out very, very relevant content, then that could be interesting. I would mostly say if you like writing, if you like to put out content, then use that as a strength and kind of double down on that. If that is not a strength, maybe there is something else you can do in order to, be seen or be noted by. You can do so many different things, right? You can do product breakdowns. You can do some product marketing like content. There's different ideas that you can try out. But I do feel in this day, having a presence is important. Again, you want to build on something that you are good at and promote that versus doing it because everyone else is doing it. As a PM, when is it a good idea to reinvent the wheel when working with a subpar yet functional product, not close to end of life, but falling behind faster than expected? Um, Good idea to reinvent the wheel. So, I guess a couple of factors. One is that product still making revenue, declining revenue. Have the leaders accepted that that is happening because the product is subpar? Um, and then what kind of investments can be made? And now you're not thinking about like at that point, you're not thinking about development work and design work. You're almost thinking about, okay, what kind of investments do we need to make in order to either revamp the product or build something new? So you need to have those conversations with like the highest leaders that are there, understand whether they feel the same as what you're feeling. If not, they need to be convinced, otherwise you're never going to get this approval for the new investment, right? So a good idea to reinvent, like the best idea there is to first recognize and kind of communicate, hey, something is going wrong. And then you have to work with like bunch of other people to see whether you need to reinvent it, whether you need to repair it, um, or like just end of life it and do something else. But it starts with how much investment can the company afford to make at that point and kind of draws down from there, in my opinion. Considering that the PM role involves cross-functioning with devs, QA, and other teams, and considering that I'm not a developer myself, how do I learn what time effort goes in building something so that once someone says it takes so and so time, I know if it's true or not? This is uh, like a very, very popular question around estimation. Uh, and if I guess even if you're a developer, but you've not been in the game for a couple of years, it could get tricky as a PM. So my goal or my input there would be to talk to developers within your team, but also talk to developers or friends outside, and try to get like a gauge of what's going on, right? So if the developer team that you're working with has been working for say a year or so, they've shipped maybe a few features, you can always go back and figure out, okay, this feature was like a smallish to medium to large feature. How much time did we take to ship each of these? And now this year, for a given small feature, how much time are we taking? So is the quantum of that particular feature similar to the kind of effort that's being put in. Again, this is an art and a science. I think estimation, there are so many other factors that are going to impede the development team also to have like a very consistent schedule. But understanding kind of the complexities of your system, um, and also getting like a third party opinion of, okay, this is what is happening, what do you think about it, can kind of help you, I guess, focus a bit more on whether there's a problem or not. And if you see inconsistencies in your own team, because for a small feature, for a smallish feature, X amount of time was taken, but now it's taking Y, you can ask certain informed questions. But for that, you need to inform yourself or learn the architecture, perhaps. Even if you're not a developer, there is enough documentation available these days so that you can start understanding some of the basics. So that's where I think some of the technical background skills can come into play. But this is always there's always a fine line. You need to keep pushing your teams around deadlines, around working faster, working better. You can understand how can you improve the processes around reviews, all of that, and see how you can influence the situation, right? So this again could be an external stressor, going back to what I was talking about, but you can take like ownership about understanding what's going on, what are the bottlenecks, and then work with those teams to figure out how can we improve the bottlenecks and so on. So I guess as a PM, you can do a bit in order to first understand and then correct the problem. I have internship, web development experience, and non-tech experience. What kind of situation based um, can be asked as a PM? I'm guessing this is more for like an interview. Um, Situation based questions can be asked as a PM. Got it. I guess you could talk about your web development experience in terms of what was the problem, what kind of impact did you have? I mean, even in the non-tech experience, maybe you worked in logistics or maybe you worked in like some other area. Um, what people look for in PMs is how willing are you to kind of understand what's going on in a certain situation, how creative are you in terms of coming up with solutions, which you can always offer in your non-tech experience. Um, and I guess some of those attributes that I mentioned around communication, the resolve, come up with you must have come up with different situations in those roles as well. So just try to bring that experience. And I think people do look for varied types of people, types of experiences. So you should use that as an advantage, I would say. Transitioning from PMM to PM, any tips? Um, I think just being a product marketer puts you at a huge advantage in order to make that shift to a product manager role, because as a PMM, you are supposed to know your market, you are supposed to know how to translate those benefits of your product to sales and marketing messaging. So there's lots of those things. I guess the areas that you might have to work on is the technical aspect or kind of the engineering aspect of things, perhaps the design aspect. So just skilling yourself or talking to engineers, understanding from designers how they go about their stuff could be helpful in order to make that transition easier. The other way could be to just do product breakdowns, use certain products yourself and kind of see how you can improve it. Those types of exercises will tell an interviewer that this person is a good marketing person, but then they also understand how to assess a particular product, how to deal with the different challenges that come with building product, how to work with engineering, how to work with design. So those would be helpful. Cool. I think lots of questions, which is great. What are the potential aspects of an intern PM that can be considered for leveling up to become a full-time PM? Okay. Um, it boils down to the basics and how well you do those basics. For example, if you're an intern PM, most likely you've been given uh, like a feature or a sub feature to look at, right? Um, how you approach that from a customer centric mindset to then working with engineering to the actual outcome, like you do, like the role doesn't change, the how deeply you do each part of the role is what changes, right? So maybe the intern PM is being given a narrow scope. You need to make sure that the expectations of that scope are very clear and you are meeting or beating those expectations, and then observe what your full-time PMs are doing. And as you are an intern PM, as much as possible, try to play that role already, right? And this is true for any role. If you're a PM looking to become a senior PM, see if you can play the role of a senior PM sooner, right? If you're looking to become a principal PM or a director, see if you can play that role sooner. And the same logic or advice I think applies even here. Look at what your full-time PMs are doing. And as an intern PM, what is that one or two things that you can take and do additionally that's going to show your manager or your leaders that, okay, this person is now ready to move to the second role. Strategy for transitioning from non-PM to PM roles. Cool. So there's like lots of things. One is, of course, you need to know why you want to become a PM. I think that's a very big factor. If you are in a non-PM role, say in an engineering role or in a design role or in a product marketing role, um, really understanding what are those strengths that you can bring into the PM role, that you should like really have sorted out. Um, the other ways to think about it is, can you develop expertise in the current domain that you're in? Because understanding of the market is like a very important piece. So suppose you're an engineer working in, I don't know, like a company like Swiggy, for example, right? So can you understand what your market looks like? Like what do consumers care about? What do the restaurants care about? Developing an understanding of all of that is going to help you convince people that, hey, I can be a good PM. So market knowledge is very important. Then your core skill, whether it's engineering or design, like how can you put that out? And then the third is developing like product marketing skills and figuring out, okay, how should I help the marketing team become successful or the sales team become successful if you're in a B2B role. So those are like three or four simple ways to kind of keep learning and keep improving so that you can make that transition to the PM role. Book recommendations for those trying to transition into a PM role, especially for those from non-tech roles. Okay. Again, going about those three areas, knowing a market, I feel there are a lot of good books out there that will help you understand how to talk to customers. That I think is a very important skill. I like this book called The Mom Test, which I recommend, which I think has some very simple but powerful ideas about how to talk to customers, how to understand your market better. Um, the other ones could be other books could just be if you're in non-tech, like maybe even a tech for dummies type of book, just so that you can understand how web technology works or mobile technology works. Those types of books will be super useful. And on the GTM side, again, if you're a non-tech person or a non-marketing person getting into a PM role, understanding messaging, and I can't remember any books right now, but anything that helps you translate, and maybe you can read a book about advertising as well. Anything that helps you translate like a benefit into some type of messaging, those are the three types of books that I would recommend. Cool. Another question from LinkedIn Live. How easy was it to transition from a QA to a PM role? What preparations are necessary? Um, So I think there is obviously preparation, but there is also luck that is involved. For me personally, it so happened that as I was kind of in my QA role and I was thinking about becoming a PM because I felt I just didn't really want that kind of growth path being a QA, though nothing wrong with that. But I felt I wanted to do something broader. I was always interested in that aspect of like looking at products in a broader sense. So I was already thinking about it. I'd already enrolled for a course. I was in that course. I was doing like all of these different um, exercises that can come with a PM school like session, doing all of that, and an opening happened to come up in my company at that time. So I interviewed for that, like prepared hard, interviewed for that. Uh, the lucky piece was that the opening happened in my existing company. I think that's a lucky break when your own company is looking for PMs and you can do that internal transition because you know the product, you know like kind of the people around, or at least some of the people around, and it just becomes much more easier. But I do feel being a QA person has its advantages because you have used the product as a user because you're testing it on a day-to-day basis, and I do think that QA people can become like very effective product managers. So of course, you need to have your own preparation because you can't be in this silo of, oh, I'm like really good at testing the product. You need to, again, understand the market, understand your users, um, know how to message something to back to the customers, know how to work with people. And the way you can do that is don't just limit yourself to being that QA person, right? Talk to the product manager as much as possible, talk to sales, talk to marketing teams, talk to customer success. Those are the folks who are much closer to the customer than you are as a QA person, and you learn and absorb a lot. And then you take those learnings and see how you can make your QA role much better or be a much more effective QA person. And then the leadership is going to notice that, okay, this person is actually exhibiting skills that look like this person can become a PM, and that's when you start getting noticed. To get into PM roles at big tech requires experience, at least 2 to 4 years. Is it possible to crack into big tech PM roles level one directly from product development background, PM beginners, or is it necessary to work in PM roles in small companies to get into big tech? Um, I have not worked at big tech, so I am not sure. But my advice would be that work in a company which is going to give you a lot of exposure. Big tech may not be the right choice as an early PM. That's my personal opinion. So work in companies that are going to give you exposure to different facets of product development and launches and marketing. That would help you develop the right type of experience and chops so that you can then be a lot more successful in a big tech company. When you join a big tech company as your first PM role, I think there will be a tendency to get set in certain processes and all of that, and then it's going to become difficult to adjust in a smaller company or maybe in a parallel tech company. So my advice would be to start in a role or in a company where it's going to give you a lot more exposure. In a big tech company, my fear is you will be limited to one small thing, and just expanding from there is going to be tougher. Great. More questions from LinkedIn Live. Was that the mom test for customer communication? I think so. Mom test for customer communication is correct. I am a software developer. How to find a PM job role? I guess first step is join PM school. I don't know. And there onwards, you'll like develop the skill sets. But it goes back to the same thing. That's my answer. If you're a software developer, if you really like the domain that your company is in, try to understand that better, understand why people are using your product. Try to do product breakdowns of your existing product, which means use it as a user, figure out what's wrong, talk to your PMs about it, talk to other people within the company, customer success, sales, marketing. Don't be shy. I guess as techies, we tend to be shy to go talk to other teams. So remove that from your attributes and try and talk to as many people as you can, and that's going to help you more. Yes, that's the right link. Thanks, Kushal. Great, I love it. Lots of questions.
Lots of good questions. I think this is one of the most engaging
star sessions we've had in a long time.
That's awesome. One more, as a VP of product, what problems do you solve? And can you talk about how you think about design when thinking about a product? Sure. The problems, again, the VP of product role again will be very different in different size, in different companies. For me at Hubilo, the main problem that I'm solving is uh, what should we build in order to re- uh, create new revenue for the company and retain existing revenue. It's actually very simple in that sense. But then if you dive deeper into it, then it boils down to figuring out, okay, why are customers continuing to use our product? How do we like make them love the product and continue to do so? What are some of the challenges that we are facing internally? It could be um, the product is not being able to be sold. Maybe the right enablement is not there. Maybe the product is having challenges, or the company is having challenges in creating new pipeline for the product. Going and understanding why that is happening. All of these are not product problems per se, but then the success of the product depends on how you solve those other problems, right? If enough pipeline is not generated, it means there is some type of messaging problem, or there is some type of an issue that is going on somewhere because of which incoming interest is not. It could be the product itself. Maybe the product is not differentiated enough, right? So it's all like a continuously changing, evolving thing day to day, week to week. So my problems, the problems that I solve also change, but largely it is how do we make more revenue from a product, or do we need to launch more? How do we keep our existing customers by continuously improving? That's what it boils down to. And when it comes about design, when thinking about product, fairly simple. Again, how easy is it to use? Again, depends on whether it's B2B, B2C. Nowadays, all B2B products are supposed to be very, very easy to use. So how easy is it to use? Can the product actually reflect the brand of the company? I think that is an important aspect versus just being like a product. But in your messaging, in your copy of the features, can you actually reflect the brand? That's one other aspect that I look at when I think about design. So in my opinion, those are two things, and the ease of use actually contains so much, right? Right from, okay, how clear is your navigation? How clear is your sidebar? Um, am I able to get to the features that are important for me to use the product successfully in an easy manner? So all of that comes under ease of use. What roles and responsibilities can be given as a PM intern? Um, I would look at two things. One, what are the existing strengths of that person, whether that person is a techie, an analyst, a designer, a marketer, and try to associate those strengths with kind of the closest PM thing that they could be doing. And the second is, what does the team need as a leader? Where do we need some focused help where this person can come in and do some quick contributions so that they can have like an effective 3 to 6 month internship where they are learning some things complementary to their skills. They can use their strengths, and the team also is helped by it.
Super. Folks, we have time for one or two more questions in case you have them. If you get any questions on LinkedIn Live, which we've not yet answered.
No, Kushal.
Okay, we've covered LinkedIn Live. All right, folks, we have a few minutes, so we can probably pick one question which we can answer before we conclude today's session. I think we've covered a really good breadth of questions today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, I think seems like people have run out of questions,
There's one more.
or you've done a great job in covering a lot of topics today. But either way, thanks, Salish. This has been quite a quite an enlightening session for most of us here. I could relate to a lot of what you were saying through my journey, and some of them, of course, continue. Every day is a new challenge, right? So you always have to. You'll always be facing with new problems and figuring out ways to solve them. And frameworks are where which come to your rescue here.
Yeah.
All right, we have one question. We can take this one as the last one.
Yeah, sure. I think there are two technologies a
Okay.
PM be aware of. Uh, I would say it's very, very contextual, Kiran. Depends on the company. So I don't know how specifically to answer that, right? If a non-tech candidate wants to practice PM skills and rest of the aspects of being a PM, where should one go or any websites you would recommend? Can't think of any websites, but the exercise that I highly recommend is any apps that you use yourself. Just try to uncover uh, why is it good, why does it work, and what are some things that you don't like about it. Just note them down, take screenshots, like maybe learn some basic design skills yourself, which is very easy nowadays, and maybe you can use AI also for that, and see if you can build something better. That is like a great way to build your skills. Read books that will help you build some of those skills, but also like try to practice it as much as possible. Question from LinkedIn Live: How to transition into AIPM? I guess this is a buzzword at the moment. Nothing like not taking away anything from PMs who work in AI, but I think an AI PM to me um is about like putting the solution ahead of the problem. The AI piece will always help you to solve a particular problem. So learning about AI, I think, is good, um, and definitely do it. Use it as much as you can, but uh, don't. I would not say be so particular about AI. I want to become like an AI PM. Otherwise, it's useless, right? Because as a PM, any PM, you will have to use AI. You will have to incorporate either into your day-to-day life or into your product. It just depends on which situation you're in. So wouldn't necessarily say transition into an AI PM, transition to becoming a PM, like a very, very good PM, and then just use AI
Yeah.
as an add-on either to improve your own skill set or to improve your product. Uh, I think I can take a couple more. What does your day-to-day look like at Hubilo? I think I answered that earlier. How much AI are you using? I use quite a bit if I want to do some quick experiments or like just learn something. And we are using AI a lot in our product as well because we found that it's very, very beneficial to our customers. So using a bunch of AI in our product as well. ChatGPT has been using as a PM in a company. I think a lot of companies are doing it. We use it a lot as well. I've been
Likewise.
using Perplexity and like bunch of other tools. So definitely give it a shot. Try those out. Be aware of what's happening in the tech world. That's like another important thing. Again, this talk was not about like how to become a PM specifically because there's so much about it. But having this right mindset that you need to develop like curiosity and all of those things will certainly help you in becoming the PM.
Super. Thanks everyone for your questions. I think it's about we've got a lot of I would say knowledge through questions itself today. Thanks for sharing them across. Uh, Once again, thanks Shailesh for joining us today.
Yeah, my
It's been a
pleasure.
pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Cool. So with if there are no questions further, we can call an end to today's session, which has been probably one of the most engaging sessions in recent history on the Star Session platform at PM School. Thanks everyone for making this happen and giving your time on a busy weekday. I hope you have great takeaways and looking forward to engaging you further as part of the PM School community. Priyal from my team is going to reach out to share more details about the live cohort program. Please do reach out. Even if you're contemplating it, if you have some high-level questions, drop us. We'll be happy to have a chat with you. With that, we end today's call. Thanks again, Sailesh, and thanks everyone for joining in. Thank you. Good night.